This is the SEO Lab or the SEO Lab podcast. It's supposed to be our first ever podcast and first episode. Here is my guest, Butrint, has been in SEO for over a lot of years. Right now we're trying to talk about SEO and how SEO is evolving, is SEO dead, and a lot of questions how AI and what's the importance when you try to translate a page and what's the benefit and the issues and all this kind of stuff we're going to try to talk together. But first of all, here is Butrint. Butrint, hello and welcome to our first ever episode.
Hello, Butrint. Thank you for having me. I want to congratulate you on this new podcast. I am very eager to see how many episodes this will run for. And very obviously, I'm very happy to be part of this show. And hopefully I'll get more appearances in the future.
Yeah, definitely that's the case. We're looking forward as well. So, podcast is about a marathon that not everybody is able to finish. So, yeah, we try to do this couple of times, but yet here we go again. So for the users out there, for the search engine users, I would say, and traffic visitors and all this kind of our own audience, let's try to dive in a little bit of more into details. First of all, let's talk a little bit about you, how you met SEO, how it all started for you.
Well, I got started with SEO 6 years ago. I got invited to be a content writer as an intern for a very small journal in Kosovo, Pristina. The boss of the company asked me to write reviews of different technological products in Albanian, but also in English as well. Considering that I am a major in English language and literature, writing in English shouldn't have been a problem for me. What posed a problem for me was writing content and then getting it to perform really good on the website. And that's that's where I met SEO, so to speak. The owner of the company just asked me to write content and then asked me to take care of a very small detail that he called the green dot.
Green dot.
Anyone that works with WordPress and Yoast SEO knows that next to any blog or next to any page, you have a very
bar.
Yeah, you have a bar and green,
means
orange,
good.
and red dots.
Nobody likes red.
Yeah. So my job was to basically turn the red and the orange dots into green.
Luckily, since you already finished the bachelor studies in English, so that's supposed to be an easier journey for you, right?
Yeah, that made the transition from a translator and interpreter, which I used to do before getting started in marketing, to a content writer and eventually into an SEO specialist, much smoother and much easier for me.
Okay. Would you rather go back to these kind of jobs, or you like how SEO is changing, how SEO is evolving, how it's getting dangerous for us?
Well, I would like to go back to translating and interpreting, but only as a hobby, not something that I do a 9 to 5 or a full-time career.
Okay, yeah. Sounds good. We're going to try to have this kind of a conversation tone, so trying to have this kind of question that comes and goes over and over again. One of the things is that, is SEO dead?
80% of it is, in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay.
What I would say to all of my clients, to all of my students in different courses that I teach, and all the people that I meet on my day-to-day work and activities is that 80% of the SEO work, the manual work, the mechanical work that we used to do as SEO specialists using Google Sheets, Screaming Frog, and a whole bunch of other tools, now is dead in the sense that we don't have to go through the process ourselves. We have AI tools, we have models, we have agents that can read the data.
Automate.
Yeah, we can automate 80% of the mechanical work. And what I see now happening is that most of the companies are shifting to just having senior people on the team and then replacing most of their junior teams or entry-level SEO specialists into with AI agents, which they have built because they can handle most of the basic work on
But
SEO.
do you think this is dangerous for SEO expert? And you already mentioned that you have students. So is this going to be very very dangerous for you? I'm calling it dangerous in a way that you're going to get unemployed or something. So how do you think this is a process of AI taking us our job and our life? And do you think that's dangerous in the way I say it?
It's dangerous for the people that are used to just learning a process by heart, repeating the process, calling it a day and going home, not adapting to the new stuff that's coming out. All of the AI models, all of the agents that we can make use of will actually just uh, increase our workload because you
Yeah.
and I and other SEO people can just take on more work, more clients without scaling their headcount that much. And
Yeah,
what I tell
that's also important. Here we read a lot of stories on LinkedIn as well, and we listen to podcasts when they say, okay, I replaced the whole SEO team with one tool and one AI agent. I've seen that personally, and it sucks. I don't highly suggest, or I highly suggest not to do it. So what's your opinion here when people are trying to switch from SEO team, SEO agencies for paying 10,000, 20,000 per month, then switching to $20 per month? What's your opinion here?
Well, I'm a big fan of the saying that you get what you pay for. If you're paying $20 a month, you'll get work.
You have no one to blame.
Yeah, you have Claude to blame, and good luck emailing their support team asking for questions.
Which they don't know because they are developers, not SEO experts.
That is true. But I see the same story. I've seen numerous posts on LinkedIn, but also a lot of new clients that are coming in because last year they replaced their entire SEO stack or marketing team with AI agents built on different AI platforms, and now suddenly their visibility has tanked, their rankings have tanked. Most of their commercial keywords are nowhere to be seen on the first page of Google or the top 5 pages of Google, so to speak, in the top 50s. And that's not looking good because the biggest culprit, in my opinion, is developing the new websites that they're launching using AI, which does a really good job at being fast. I like AI. I've developed websites myself using AI, and I've gotten them from start to live in 30 minutes while having my morning coffee. But those sites never proved to be really good or really stable for SEO because they're built on JavaScript frameworks and other development languages, which are not the best ones for SEO because they prioritize user experience, server loading times, and also design, looking good, feeling good, but not working at the end of the day.
Exactly.
For SEO purposes. They look good.
Sometimes looking good takes 16 seconds to load. So
yeah, well, if a business only cares about looking good in front of the audience that they can reach, then I guess go for it. But if you're a new business or if you're a struggling business and want to get more business coming in through online channels, then I would highly suggest that you have someone.
I think from my experience, the business owners see this as every user, it just landed on their page. Like they have several or hundreds or thousands of clicks and users inside the page, and they're trying to reverse engineer how they would like. But the problem is, if you don't do SEO right, they never get to your site. So that's how the business owner had this struggle to understand. Did you have the same experience?
Yeah, me and I guess everyone else on the industry. There are 2 parts to SEO or marketing as a whole strategy. It's getting people to convert, but before getting them to convert into sale, into a lead or marketing qualified lead, you have to get people to the door. I always say that a website is just like your showroom. If you're a business that has a physical store, a brick and mortar store, or a showroom, then your website is your virtual showroom. Before you can make a sale and someone comes in, you have to teach people where your showroom is. You have to get in front of the visitors. Once you get them to the site, then you can worry about converting them into sales or pushing them down the pipeline.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. But what do you think about, because everybody is obsessed about AI and LMS, for SEO, we have ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Copilot, you name it. So which one do you actually use, and which one do you think the people that are looking at this podcast, hopefully, they want to hear, or you want to teach them, like what you teach to your students? What's the best one? Because nobody uses 10 of them,
Yeah.
or tens. So you pick one, and then you double check with another one. At least that's what I do. So what's your suggestion here? What's your strategy in using AI?
Well, my daily AI stack, as I would call it, mostly consists of Claude and numerous agents and skill sets, and also plugins within Claude that help you get the work done faster and much more efficiently, especially when dealing with 20 or 30 clients a month, and you have deliverables to make all month round. So Claude is my go-to model. It is pricier. It tends to run out of credits quicker than ChatGPT and the other models.
Every minute.
But at the end of the day, it's worth it if you have replaced or want to replace your entire SEO team with an AI tool.
Yeah.
ChatGPT used to be good in the first 2 or 3 iterations of the models they launched, but now
they're trying to get ahead. They've seen how Claude is performing. I think they're trying to relaunch this kind of task performance. They're trying to implement. Personally, I haven't used, but their bot is very, very, very smart. Still, I think somebody, even us, and sometimes from time to time, we use ChatGPT bots for Claude and automation, because still it's smart. Like Opus, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, overall, it's interesting how it involves. But if you have one pick, so yours is Claude, right?
yes, all day long.
Okay. Yeah, okay. What else do we have? You worked a lot in the industry when the sites are multi-language and people want to switch to different language in a click. But before moving that, strict question, how do you think the procedure, what's your expertise and experience regarding to this? Like if you had clients before they all already have problems, and how do you solve them? And also, what do you think? It's an improvement from you if somebody says, yeah, we want to make the site multi-language because we only have 20 clicks per month. So what's your input on overall this?
Good point and good question. What I've seen happen with AI is that having multi-language sites and developing your site or translating your site for other markets and expanding into new markets that have a specific language has become much easier to do, and also easier to implement on the site, because even if you somehow screw up something when launching the new site, and
which happens a lot in SEO when you have multiple.
It happens a lot even with simple websites, because we're humans, we're prone to error, and sometimes we just skip a step thinking we've taken care of it, and then it comes back to bite us in the future. The same happens with multi-language sites. AI has become very handy into auditing and checking for hreflang issues and proper implementation of the language system, which used to take a lot of hours to do manually, especially when dealing with enterprise sites. Enterprise sites and e-commerce sites have thousands and hundreds of thousands of pages. Yeah. And you'd need 10 people working full-time around the clock to get something audited within the first month if you're doing a sprint. So now you can get that done in 10 hours using a couple of agents built on Claude, built on Codex by ChatGPT, or anything else that you prefer. They can get the auditing done because they understand the simple logic of how different languages coexist within the same website, and how the hreflang system works and how it needs to be implemented on a website.
Yeah, makes sense. ChatGPT already, I think, put a blog when they said they launched the newest Codex, and they proclaimed like it's more than Opus of Claude. So it's interesting. I never had a chance to use it yet. I think it's been 24 hours since it's live. But anyway, yeah, multi-language site is can backfires most of the cases I've seen, because when you have to deal with, as you mentioned, when you have to deal with a lot of developers, they don't really like SEO telling them how to do stuff, but then later on they find out they end up in the mud. So, but you mentioned also something interesting regarding to a lot of pages in e-commerce. So you have to implement pagination sometimes. So what's your intake in pagination, especially when we're dealing with you see, page 200 in the same complete content?
Same old, same old. As we all know, pagination is not a problem anymore. We're just using canonicals to point everything back to the main page, to the first page, if you can say, of a category or a collection page.
Pillar page or something.
Or a pillar page, whatever you want to name it. And then the rest of the pages within that category or collection just get non-canonicalized, if we can say it. And then we don't have any issues with indexing the main page because of the pagination. At least not in the projects that we handle before they go live. You mentioned developers always clashing with SEO people, and that is very true. It used to be, and it still is an issue, because developers are looking for the easiest way to get the job done, in a way. Yeah. Most of them are just looking to get the job done, launch a project, get done with it, and end the project or the contract. And then we take over as the SEO team, and then we find a plethora of issues that we cannot handle ourselves because they go back to the root server. They go back to the server
and we flag
level.
Then we get in trouble.
Yeah, and then all we can do is flag the issues when we do the audits, and then prepare documents and send fixes to the developers. But then it's just a game of tag, always pushing the developers to get the fixes launched as fast as possible, or they push back because they don't see a reason why we should change the way the website works.
Because
and
for them looks okay.
In their opinion, everything is good, the website works, it's none of their issue anymore. And that's something I tend to not agree with, because as a business, I don't think anyone is paid to screw up the income source of a business, especially if you're into e-commerce, and missing a couple of days in sales on your new website can be pretty detrimental. It can get you on a losing cycle when you start losing rankings and losing money on a day-to-day, and you have people to pay that are on your payroll. So I heavily suggest...
That becomes a serious problem.
Yeah, that becomes a huge problem, and that is why most of the times right now when I get new leads coming in asking me to help with their SEO, if they've just done a migration and they have not consulted someone during the migration phase, I tend to push back or be hesitant into working on that project, especially if they have an outsourced development team. If they have in-house developers, it's easier to work with them and they're more accountable. But if they are outsourcing development, it becomes quite hard.
When you mentioned migration, I remember when X was bought for that amount of money, they did a 302 redirect instead of 301. Yeah, it's X, Twitter, previously called, now it's X, but when the SEO team, or I don't know if they had an SEO team, when they merged, when they migrated everything to the new URL, they kept everything as the 302, so they lost all the link juice, all the off-page SEO, so they started from ground. I don't know if that was on purpose. Personally, I don't think that was on purpose for that specific detail. So, but as you mentioned, that's very crucial. But what do you think for these kind of sites that miss this kind of, off-page SEO for one small, tiny error?
I wouldn't think that it was an issue or it was an error or that they just overlooked the type of redirect they were implementing, knowing Elon Musk and the very capable team that he has behind him. Most likely, I'm guessing they were betting on X.com not really picking up as fast as Twitter was losing traffic. So as a security measure, I guess they implemented a 302 redirect instead of a 301, and then they just benchmarked the new performance on X.com.
Or perhaps I'm just hallucinating, but perhaps they wanted to use backlinks, mentioning they did this mistake and using the PR everywhere. So everybody was talking about it. So and they never said anything. So they want to use the PR like we're talking right now. If they didn't have that problem, we wouldn't be talking here. So
they purposely created a problem so that all the big news outlets and tech companies and journals would speak about it, which in turn gives them more off-page authority, more referring domains, which in turn gets them better visibility and rankings. It could be reverse psychology from their team or just a very well thought out plan. But as we all know, it's working very good for them.
Yeah,
Their
right
rankings
now
are
it
back.
turns very good. Yeah, the ranks are bad, and like 80% of the team is gone, so they have more salaries, they have more marketing budget, and so on. So going back to the to SEO, like how much is evolving, and you mentioned SEO audits, but for the new users, for the new guys that join out there, that they work a lot, what do you think? How many times that an audit should be performed? Is it enough once that you start working with them, then you know what's done? You're checking daily. You don't need to do an SEO audit. You know what's going on. What's your intake here?
Before we got all of these AI agents live, audits used to be extremely hard, but also very planned. So you'd do one audit a month, so to speak, using Ahrefs or SEMrush or any of the other SEO tools that are more classical than the new AI versions, and then you just look at the data on a month-to-month basis. Now, when we ship a batch of changes to the website, we can immediately re-crawl the website and re-audit everything. When it comes
couple of minutes,
in a couple of minutes, and just have AI agents check the specific pages and collections that we updated for any changes into the core web vitals, the performance, loading time, rendering, whether Google can crawl and render all of the content that is on the site. And we can do that anytime we ship changes, so that we immediately understand that we screwed something up or everything went as intended and it's working good. We don't have to wait for the monthly scheduled audit to run.
Makes sense. So you mentioned several tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush, and the others. What's your biggest like to them? Because we already heard that SEMrush was acquired by Adobe, and Ahrefs still the same. But do you think we should use both for specific reasons, or do you think because these two are the best, unless we're talking about technical SEO? I like Screaming Frog, but what's your intake in this kind of triangle of tools? And still we have AI and Claude. Do you think we should worth paying at this stage a lot for all clients?
Ahrefs used to be very worth it, in my opinion. I've always been a fan of Ahrefs because of the data that they have and they provide, which in my opinion is the closest to what's out there, to the reality when we compare data from analytics or Search Console or built-in analytics tools on the site, and then the traffic estimates and the keyword rankings from Ahrefs, SEMrush, and other tools. I've always found Ahrefs to be the closest one to guessing where a website is ranked and how much traffic is generating from each keyword. SEMrush, in my opinion, has always had inflated numbers. I think they had a couple of psychologists on their team that always thought of ideas or ways to make people feel good about themselves when they do SEO or they start using SEMrush, because the moment you get started using SEMrush and you do a couple of optimizations, the traffic score, the domain authority, everything increases exponentially. Even if
makes no sense.
Makes no sense. It's not realistic. It's not even close to what's happening on your website. But SEMrush used to make you feel good about it. And I guess that's how they
fills you with this kind of dopamine of being a good SEO expert and so on. Yeah, so Ahrefs won this battle.
Ahrefs and SimilarWeb also.
And SimilarWeb. You use SimilarWeb.
Yeah, a lot of industry research data, gathering data for competitors is much easier, but also it's in more detail using SimilarWeb as compared to Ahrefs and SEMrush. The databases are not as big because the crawlers are not as popular and they're working in smaller quantities compared to Ahrefs bot or the SEMrush one, but their market intelligence data is very outstanding. You can prepare a very robust report on an industry for a client using SimilarWeb data.
Yeah, makes sense. But regarding to, if we're talking more about deeply in technical SEO, which I'm a fan of, what do you think about the importance of schema in AI and LMS? So everybody, the question right now people do is how to end up in LMS or how to get featured on LMS. But I'm intrigued to know your opinion regarding to schema. What's the importance of schema? Let's say an average for 1 to 10. Where do you put schema in regards to importance?
Schemas, well, it's always been a 10 out of 10 when it comes to functionality and also impact it has on ranking, at least what we've seen from the data. Sometimes it's weird because we implement schemas on a lot of sites and they don't end up making any changes or just proving much impact on the results or on the rankings. But with the launch of ChatGPT and other AI models, what I've seen is that most of the AI models and other LLMs are more and more using schemas to make sense of a website. So now schemas is not just a suggestion, it's obligatory. If you don't
It's
have...
a must, mandatory.
It's a must. It's almost mandatory. Yes, you can get your website to be mentioned or to be ranking on Google without having a schema, but if your industry is very competitive, if you're working in a competitive market and you're surrounded by competitors that are using schema, then your chances are always going to be lower. And that's something that we try to do. We cannot guarantee rankings, but we can guarantee that we'll do everything to increase your chances of being cited or being mentioned on LLM models or on Google itself. And schema is a major role in that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So schema, we're saying 10 out of 10. But when we dive in, we had in the early stages like rank math, implemented the LMS.txt, then rank math, I think rankability created a tool as well in the same area when we didn't have bots. Then Yoast tried to do the same. We still have this thing activated. I was a fan at the beginning to try implement it. I don't have any data that was ever proved right. What's your opinion?
You're correct on that one. Up until 2 months ago, all of the websites that had an LLMs.txt file on their website had 0 mentions or 0 clicks to these files or 0 visits from Google bot, from ChatGPT bot, from any other crawlers.
It's like saying don't crawl.
Yeah, it's like saying don't crawl. But what we're seeing in the last 2 months is that ChatGPT and the other AI models are slowly starting to pay a visit to this TXT file that you have sitting on your server. Now, whether that's making a difference on your mentions in AI models, that's very questionable. We don't have any data on that so far because the data that we have to work with right now is very small compared to traditional SEO data that we have. But we are getting hits. The important thing is, or at least the...
So should we activate it or not?
You should. I mean...
Doesn't take a lot.
It's like 20 kilobytes, depending on your website size.
What if it's hurting us? And we did that on purpose.
I don't think it's hurting us. Do you think it's hurting a website if it's using the LLMs.txt file?
I said I don't have the data, so it's very hard. But I've done recently, whenever I have activated 6 months or 10 months ago, I went back and then deactivated because it wasn't working. Yeah. We have different things, and I just said, okay, let's give it a try. Perhaps it's not helping. I did the reverse engineering on that. I turned it off. So it's. I don't think whoever created it. I think what makes sense is that if you're trying to be able to be up to date, that was like something. If somebody mentioned LMS and you have no clue what's going on, like I'm saying like 6 months and 8 months ago, and your SEO department or your SEO teams say, no, I don't know what that is. So they are already left behind, which it's not. But, I'm going back and forth in LinkedIn comments. Is it improving? Is it helping? What's the data? And you can copy and put in Google Search Console. You might get some clicks, but then you're getting clicks from perhaps people who already wrote that and so on. So I still don't know if that's working, honestly. But if we move forward to one thing as well, you already mentioned sometimes you activate, but some people put in on robot.txt, and then SEMrush flags that you have an error on this kind of line of robot.txt, that you should get rid of it. Because people they thought that since they are crawling the site, they're using the same theory as search engines. Because they go to robot.txt, they go to Schema, and they check. But actually not the LMS. So what I'm saying is, what's your best robot.txt regarding to schemas and search engines? Do you think you should leave it blank, default, or you should go and over optimize it a little bit?
I don't think you really need to reference the LLMs.txt file on your robots.txt file. Yeah. And as you said, that can sometimes generate issues with Ahrefs or SEMrush, because they will try to flag it as an unknown element in your robots file, which might mess up your configuration. But I haven't seen that happening really. LLMs.txt 8 months ago used to be a buzzword. A lot of the clients requested it, and we were just trying to make them happy by enabling it, generating it, and putting up on the site. Now it's starting to get some hits, so I guess why not? Why not have it?
Or perhaps LMS think what they are talking about. If it's very trendy, let's do it. Now it's working.
Yeah, it used to be just a buzz, and now there is some very small traction. It's starting to grow, but it's very slow because it's not an official file, just like robots.txt or the sitemap.xml files on the site. But in regards to referencing your LLMs.txt file on your robots file, I don't think that's necessary. I don't think that's useful. If you do,
what else?
If you do, and you get an error from SEMrush or any other SEO site auditing tool that you're using, just feel free to ignore it. We know that SEMrush and Ahrefs like bringing up errors.
But they also flag if you don't have an LMS.txt activated on your site. Sometimes SEMrush says on the end of it, you don't have the LMS.txt file.
Well, that's what I was about to say, is that SEMrush specifically, but also Ahrefs and other tools, they have a lot of rules when they crawl your website, because they want to keep you invested in their tools and in their platforms. If they only flag 3 issues and you fix them in the first month, then your usage of Ahrefs or SEMrush is going to be minimal, and at some point you're not going to have value coming out of it, so you'll stop using it. So what these tools are doing, they're just constantly finding new issues to flag on the website, even if they don't help with your rankings or with your traffic. They don't make any improvements to your traffic. They don't help you show up higher.
But since it's your domain, they know you're going to take a little bit of time, scan again, use some crawl credit, and then buy more credits.
Yeah, you buy more credits, you upgrade to the higher plan. They keep making the plans more expensive. So it's a roller coaster of these platforms trying to meet their sales quotas or revenue. And then we get screwed as the end people, because we were using the tools and they constantly played with our psychology. We like getting the dopamine hits, clicking on solved, or seeing that we had 2 issues solved on a specific project.
Like health score and like errors issue blower and this kind of stuff,
So they just played with it, and that's what I've been telling, and I've seen a lot of success with a lot of clients by just changing the parameters on the crawlers. What I do now is whenever I set up a new project or a new Ahrefs or SEMrush account, I immediately edit the parameters on the site audit feature and set it to what actually matters for rankings. Yes, technical SEO is important. It would be nice to have at 100 or close to 100. Why not? But if it's taking the majority of the budget, or we're spending the first 3 months of work on technical SEO, in 3 months we will now have no new keyword rankings. We will have no new traffic to show or leads to show for our work. And it's very hard to make a case that SEO will work for a client.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, Makes sense. But sometimes if you have a team of developers and team who understand their job, it's easier to fix this kind of errors if you don't neglect it and don't ignore it. Uh, as I said, I'm still a fan of technical SEO because that's up to you. You don't wait for Google to rank you. You don't wait for Google to improve or optimize. It's a one error. You had it on your site. You can go edit and fix it. If it's an CMS, you can use WordPress or whatever, Shopify or any kind of this kind of CMS. You can do it. You can check it. You can fix it. It's up to you. So sometimes I think like if you have like, I've used to work. I had some cases when I worked with 8,000 errors a site has, and I was wondering, okay, what if Google comes to your site and say you have 8,000 errors, at least, and you don't have time to fix that, and you think we have time to rank you. So what does make you? So I think that's when it's up to you, you should go and fix it, whatever it takes. Okay, moving forward to LMS and search engines, like versus this kind of hot subject. Do you think right now websites should be optimized for search engines because still they get the most traffic, or we should think ahead and try to optimize for LMS more?
That's a good question. 2 days ago on a random LinkedIn post, I saw someone discussing whether it makes sense to optimize your website for geo only, so generative engines like ChatGPT and the other AI models. And then there was a very famous SEO conference 2 days ago where someone from Google, a representative, had a couple of slides on his deck saying that no, AI does not read your website differently, or you don't have to do a lot of truncating and also
different stuff.
Using paragraphs.
But should we trust Google for this?
No. We should trust the sites that are being mentioned by AI tools like ChatGPT. It's common if you're using Peak or other AI research tools, you'll see that most of the sources that are being cited by AI models or being mentioned in AI models, they don't have anything very specific to AI. And most of the AI optimizations right now are just SEO rebranded as AI.
Well-written content that is not...
It's good content. You get a lot of mentions, positive mentions from other sites back to you. And then you're easily discoverable. Where technical SEO comes handy, as you mentioned, you cannot get ranked or be indexed at first without having a very good technical standpoint. But if you have a good standpoint on technical terms, your content is good, and you're getting good reviews or feedback from other sources on the internet, and they're speaking good of you, then you will get cited by AI. And of course, this goes without us saying, it's not just doing the work, but it's also analyzing the market. What I like to do with new clients or new projects that we take on is always do market research. It's the fundamentals of marketing for the past 100 years. If a new client is trying to expand into a territory which is very competitive and they have a budget for 12 months in order to make a dent or to be part of the industry, and we do analysis and we come to the conclusion that 12 months is not going to cut it, or the amount of investment that the client has planned for is not going to cut it because he's dealing with HubSpot, he's competing with SEMrush or Ahrefs or SE ranking. If you're launching,
and they're not waiting for you.
They're not waiting for you. They're investing on their own. You're a couple of years behind them in terms of ranking and having that domain age and trust. So maybe this product is, or this product market is not the best for you. If you have a very innovative and also genius product that no one else has, then yes, we can work. Yeah, we can work with that and come up with a strategy in order to use all your value propositions to make a dent and get you with the top players. But if you have a new product, then you don't have any other competitors. So it kind of works in your favor.
Very rare.
It's very rare. But if you're launching a product that has 1,000 of alternatives on the internet and on the market, then you'll have to plan for a longer marathon. As you said in the beginning of this podcast, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. If you have big competitors with domain authorities that exceed 80 or 70, you might want to buckle up and plan for 2 or 3 years of investing in SEO.
Before you even want results.
Yeah, before you
Argue.
even sit down and argue about results. The first year you're going to be talking about the work done and whether we're doing good work, qualitative work, and whether our work is going to be beneficial to users in the future, not just when we launch it.
I think what I've seen, before moving to another question, if I don't forget, so what I've seen, because we're talking about a different markets when dealing with SEO expert, and I think that's what makes us better, because we don't have 12 months. We don't have 12 months agreement. We don't have 24 months of agreement or contracts. So we need to be fast. We need to act fast in everything regarding to SEO, like improve technical SEO, improve keyword rankings, improve content, improve off-page SEO, improve everything. Or you're gonna cut the contract. The client's gonna cut. So I think this what makes us even better for other competitors in regard to SEO. But my question to you is, you mentioned domain rating and domain age. How do you think that reflects in rankings when we're dealing with such thing?
It's a big factor. We know from the Google leak 2 years ago, 2024, we got a huge algorithm leak on the side of Google, and I would like to thank whoever was the guy that discovered all of the files being out there.
I think it was an ex-employee who did that on purpose, but I don't know.
Might have been. Bless his soul. We know that domain age is one of the factors that Google looks at when it starts ranking a site for a new topic.
When we're talking about age, what is age to Google? How many years is age? How many years does Google thinks of you as you're old? You're old enough.
Well, compared to the others that are competing for the same queries, it's very natural, I would say, and very logical. Yes, if you launch a new AI model right now or a new AI startup, domain age might not be the biggest factor for your rankings, because everything on the AI industry is new. There is no old players in the industry. Even ChatGPT, it's old from 2018, I believe, when Elon Musk was an investor. But all of the AI platforms are still on the startup phase. They're still trying to...
Exactly. But they get 1 million, so...
Yeah, and...
we don't have to feel pity for them.
We don't. But if you're working in an industry, if you're working in the law firm industry or the contractor industry as a whole in the US market, which is one of the most competitive ones, then domain age will play a factor, which is why you have a lot of big firms that are buying aged domains, and making huge bids.
But how many years, if you have to pick a number? I think 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, because we know 25 years ago we cannot ask for more, most of us. But let's say,
if we can get a good domain with 5 years of history on Google and no penalties, then I score that as a must for a client, and at a reasonable price. Obviously, we don't have $100,000 to spend on a new domain, because that's the entire budget of the SEO project maybe, but 3 to 5 years would be good to get everything rolling faster and not have to wait 6 months or more to get local rankings. Local SEO right now is even quicker, within a couple of weeks.
Since you mentioned the US market, because it's easier to get in local SEO, not necessarily easier, but law firms need, because we're talking about reviews, and people want to read reviews before hiring a lawyer or hiring an attorney or immigration or anything like that. So what do you think about local SEO?
Local SEO used to be one of my majors, if I can say so. A couple of years ago, when I worked with US-based agencies and also UK-based agencies, we had a lot of local SEO clients, law firms, contractors, roofing contractors, kitchen cabinets, handyman services, anything.
And you name it in this kind of...
Anything in the home remodeling industry, professional contractor industry we worked with. uh, the results and the work is done much more differently compared to SaaS, e-commerce, or other industries. If you're working with local contractors in the US, and everyone in the audience will understand this, you got 2 or 3 months before the client comes knocking in and asking for results, but also making a big deal of why you haven't delivered more leads. The way local contractors work is you have a boss that's also an employee. You have a boss that shows up at 8 o'clock in the morning and works just the same as one of his employees. So you have a boss that's self-employed. He's doing the day-to-day work. He's out there in the trenches. He's out there in the field, and he doesn't
trying to do also marketing and all kind of.
And he doesn't understand, but also doesn't need to understand the technical SEO details or the content details. All he needs to understand and what he will care for is how many calls at the end of the day, how many calls at the end of the week.
That's all they care.
Does he have any jobs booked in for next week? Because his contractors, his employees depend on that income. So if you're trying to have a very smart conversation with him in regards to talking to him about how 302 might be better than a 309 or a 301,
it's not going to work.
Good luck. It's not the best use of his time. Most of them will join calls while being on the field.
They want to care only about results.
Yeah, they want to know how much it's going to cost them. What is the market potential?
This is the problem in SEO. We cannot promise what we cannot deliver, because even if you work with 2 contractors or 2 roofers, it's not going to get the same results. Even if you do use the same template, that's because we're doing SEO. It's not like they in their head, if they have the same budget, same house, they're going to do the same flooring or whatever. Yeah. But in SEO, it's not how it works. We need to spend a little bit of time, check, do the audit, check again, do the implementation, and then spend some time to check the results. But yeah, and still what's also not crucial, because we're dealing with SaaS most of the time, and the roofers, they never understand if the money is coming from SEO, because they've been in business for 5 years. They do have some referrals, they do have some reviews, and they think that, yeah, you did a good job, but you know who we are. We do a good job in NY, we did a good job in DC, we did this kind of that. So it's very interesting in local SEO as well.
If I may interject on that, while you were speaking, you mentioned something that's very important for all of the SEO people in the industry, but also for all the business owners, is when to attribute leads or work to SEO and to other channels, but also to marketing as a whole. Getting the people to your store or to your business is one thing. Getting them to fill the form or press the call button is another thing. The final thing is realizing and understanding where the calls are coming from. Yes, you might be good at what you're doing, but you're not found online because your website sucks. It doesn't rank for anything. So your SEO agency or your freelancer or your in-house person has done a good job if he's landed you more calls and he's getting you more rankings, because now people are calling you. They're reaching out, they're filling in the form, you're getting more leads. Same goes with Facebook ads and Google ads and all the other marketing types, advertisement that you do. So attributing leads is very difficult to do, because one thing that I see a lot in the industry is people like to brag about, yes, we delivered 20 leads organically to this client, but not from Google ads, for anything else. And in my opinion, you cannot separate them to such a degree. Why? It's very simple.
Unless you have installed a third-party tool when you're tracking the calls, tracking the
it's not even that. Trust me, it's not even that. Yes, you can have the best tracking, server-side tracking for Meta, for all the other platforms, but that's not the issue. The issue is that, yes, you ranked in the top positions. Organically, you got a click, and you got a lead. But if you talk to that lead and you have a conversation with him and you ask him, what are the touch points between you and us as a business, you'll realize that your website and your rankings are not the first thing he knows about you. 2 weeks ago, he might have seen one of your ads on Facebook. He might have seen one of your viral posts on socials. You might have seen one of your Google ads. You might have seen your billboard down the street while he was driving home. There are a lot of spaces and opportunities for you to get in touch with your audience, and you can never attribute everything 100% purely to organic or to paid ads or to email marketing, because we know
we need to connect the dots.
We need to connect the dots. Any user before converting will look at your brand, will look at your value proposition, and then will look at your credibility. They will look at your reviews, your profile, what the people online are saying for you. If you have any referrals, testimonials, client reviews, everything comes together to get you someone to sign up. It's not just because you're ranked in the top position, you got a lead.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the final nail in the coffin. But this specific user started his journey with your company a month ago, 2 months ago. I see this in e-commerce a lot.
Checking.
Shopify has a really good feature when you go to the marketing function or the marketing menu on Shopify.
On conversion prices and
on a native scale, Shopify tracks a user up to 90 days. If you have enabled 90-day tracking, where they're coming from and whether they first landed from.
It's a returning client. If it's a return. I think Google Ads does the same, but I think they do have more data.
They have more data, but also now Shopify is just mixing the reports. When you look at revenue streams, organic, paid ads, it's not as clear. The distinction is not as clear because Shopify, the people at Shopify understand that, yes, when they made the purchase, they came from an organic listing. They came from an AI mention. But this is not the first time they're on the site. They've been reading materials or content. They've been looking at the products on the site a month ago as well. And now they just need the product and they're just making the purchase. And that's why Shopify came up with new reports, new ways to report conversions and sales in a way that's more integrated and doesn't really make a distinction, a very hard distinction between organic sale, paid sales, email marketing sales, and so on.
Makes sense. Okay, I think we're coming out to the end. So my few last question would be regarding to directories, citation, and backlinks. So how do you think we still need to invest in both or all of these kind of things? Because we see, like I've said it in my LinkedIn post, that citations are back. They were gone for a while. When the LMS came, they were constantly coming back because of reviews, because of NAP consistency, and then backlinks regarding to increase of domain rating and improvement and so on. So what's your intake on this?
My take is the same as Ahrefs. If you look at one of the recent Ahrefs posts, they figured out that branded web mentions, not just citations or business directories and backlinks.
Even blank text when mention your name, exactly.
Yeah, so especially for AI models, because that's been the theme of this episode, I feel like. If you're really invested in AI model mentions and citations, then you have to get your brand mentioned. You have to get backlinks with a branded anchor going back to your website. You have to get business directory mentions. You have to get Trustpilot. You have to get all the big directories. The BBB, you have to get the NBKA directory, Yelp and so on and so on. Even the premium features. I'd always recommend to my local contractor friends or clients that they sign up for the premium plans for house.com, for bbb.com, all of the other big recognized directories in the US, because the premium listings, they get more visibility, they get included in banners, and they have more content out there. And then ChatGPT and the others mention these businesses. And when you look at the sources that the AI model has used, you look at BBB or you look at house.com, and all of the businesses mentioned or listed there are all premium users. None of them are free users. Yes, you can do free directories. You can sign up for free.
Even right now, we can't in BBB. It's very hard or extremely hard especially if you're in a law firm or attorneys. You have to pay. You have to pay a lot.
Yeah, for law firms.
But I think it's worth it. It's worth it very, very much.
For lawyers, you have the lawyer-specific industries directories like justyet.com, Super Lawyers, the Millionaire Club. There are a bunch of lawyer-specific directories that you can get listed on. Even for a price, it's worth it because you'll make that money back. Not now, but 6 months from now, you'll get that money back.
The moment that you get indexed, it starts to show up. Yeah, that's how it works. Okay, so I think that was it. We tried to summarize. It's not it. There's a lot of things to say, but hopefully the next time. So once again, thank you very much, Butrint, for being in this kind of episode, the first one in the SEO Lab that we're trying to implement and make it like a weekly podcast. So once again, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, and it's always a pleasure meeting with you guys, having a chat over coffee or in the podcast and talking about SEO.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.